Toivo is a former Robben Island prisoner. The ANC has described him as a loyal friend of the South African people, a freedom fighter, a hero, an icon of Namibia's struggle for self-determination. We're now joined in studio by Ntate Mpho, who is the National Secretary and convener of the Robben Island Reunion. Good afternoon and welcome to PM News.
Afternoon. Talk
to us about the man, Herman, that you knew and met on Robben Island.
Yeah, Comrade Andimba Toivo, that is how he was called. Actually, I would like firstly to send my deepest condolences to the family and also the liberation movement, SWAPO, and also the people of Namibia. Yeah, he was actually a great, outstanding leader, the tried and the tested, revolutionary, one of the rarest leaders that you could find. Well, when we arrived in Robben Island, I arrived in 1985. Toivo, actually, he was released in 1984. But we have learned a lot with regard to his legacy and his leadership traits. One of the characteristics of, how do you distinguish leadership? He was a revolutionary intellectual and, quite honestly, a militant, not like Madiba and etc. So I'm talking in terms of leadership traits. There are some leaders who are revolutionary intellectuals, but Comrade Toivo was a militant. We had so many leaders in the island that were militant. For instance, Comrade Harry Gwala, when they speak, you must listen. And, quite authoritarian. But, yeah. And Comrade Toivo, for instance, when he was captured by the South African, apartheid security forces in Namibia in 1966, he was brought to South Africa and he went to a trial. And he was actually captured with 36 Namibians. And he was sentenced to 16 years, actually 20 years in Robben Island. Now, all of these comrades actually, they stayed at the D section, but Comrade Toivo was staying with the leadership of the ANC. That is the Rivonia trial, at the B section. So I was staying at the E section, the most notorious section in Robben Island. One of the things that people could learn about his leadership traits is he stood fast. He was a very controversial leader, very firm and objective about the liberation of Namibia. For instance, during his trial, after he was convicted for 20 years, because he was charged under Terrorism Act, the notorious Terrorism Act of which I was charged, he mentioned something, corroborated something during his trial by saying that, the liberation struggle will be a long and a bitter struggle. And the Namibian people will fight through all means at their disposal until Namibia is free. And then our interaction with some of the comrades, because they left the island in 1985 when I arrived, because they were imprisoned, remember, from 1966 up until the early 80s. So one of his leadership traits when he was with Madiba at the B section, Comrade Toivo, as I said, he was a very revolutionary and a militant comrade. During the time when in Robben Island, we used to read the news. The news, every paper clip that you have. So these news are being analyzed during our political discussions. Each and every sentence, then we will know what is going outside and also the international political struggle. Now, Comrade Toivo, because he never trusted any white people, especially the warders in prison, he will ask Madiba to read for him all the news articles. And Comrade Mpegi, Comrade Sisulu, also, they will read for him. You will ask, he will stand there. And then they will read for him each and every newspaper article. He was a very sharp intellectual, leader. And he never wanted to sign any other document. Anything that, even they say, Comrade Toivo, you need to sign here, you need to go to the hospital. Hey, it's going to be a very bitter struggle, because the reason why he never wanted to sign anything, because he never trusted the white people. For instance, he was against actually the jurisdiction of the apartheid regime with the Namibian people. In the early 70s, he wrote quite a number of demands with the leadership at the B section with regard to the upliftment of the standards, living standards in prison. When we arrived in prison, we, found, most of the situation, it was a little bit changed. And it was through these struggles of these comrades when they were fighting for better conditions.
I'd quickly like to interject and ask you about that relationship that he did have with leaders within the ANC, the former President Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu and the likes, and the relationship that he had with ANC as an organization.
Yes, remember, in prison, SWAPO actually fought together in the trenches with MK and the Angolan liberation movement in Angola, fighting against the apartheid security forces. And that collective of the liberation struggle, it came to, there was this war called the Quito Carnival, where the apartheid security forces were defeated in Angola. And that battle is still recorded, within
in the history books.
In the history books. Now, both these liberation movements, they fought as a collective. And one thing that I would like to describe about this, about Comrade Toivo, it was leadership.
Yeah.
His leadership traits. That if you're a leader, you need to pass through the eye of the needle. These are the leaders that we're talking about. Not today. We have seen people like the so-called Save South Africa, the Sipo Pichanas. You see, who are coming out and posed as people's leaders. They impose themselves as people's leaders.
All right. Ntate Mpoma, I'll have to leave it there. He is the National Secretary and convener, of course, of the Robben Island reunion, talking to us about the formidable leader that was the Namibian fighter, hero and icon, Mr. Andimba Toivo.